Welcome back, True Seeker. Just a little heads up in case you missed it. We are back to doing daily live streams on Patreon. And again, those streams for the time being will begin at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. If you can't make that for the live stream, you can always watch it anytime after. They stay up on Patreon for forever. But we used to do daily live streams. In the process of trying to finish my book for some period of time, I've gone away from doing daily live streams and just doing them somewhat throughout the week. But yes, we are back to daily, Monday through Friday. And just a heads up, I'm going to have to miss tomorrow's live stream. There's not a whole lot of sports action tomorrow, and something came up that I need to attend to tomorrow. But we won't miss many days. And just so you know, for the rest of the NFL season, we'll also be streaming on the weekends. So you'll get nearly 7 days of week of sports coverage. And again, I don't charge a whole lot for Patreon. It's $5 a month for all of the written content. It's $11 a month for all of the written content plus the live streams. And again, that works out to cents a day. And again, Gematria really does pay. This is very beneficial knowledge. Despite what the trolls try to say, I got millions of slanderers out in the world, nonstop negative press. You know, the same loser who put out a video last year that we had a losing college football playoff, put out a video this year saying we had a losing college football playoff. Hate to break it to you, but that's not true. We won again this year, and last year we won even bigger because last year we had the TCU upset. But again, this year we had 3 picks for the college football playoff. We hit on 2 out of the 3, and it would have been nice to go 3 for 3. And the one pick where we did miss, plenty of people were hedged on the other side. Because we knew that Michigan had a real narrative to beat Alabama. And you know what? A lot of people in our community had a future in for Michigan to be in the championship because of what we talked about at the start of the season. So Michigan beating Alabama wasn't the end of the world for us. And anyway, if you listen to the trolls, you're going to miss out on important knowledge. And, you know, you listen to the trolls, you didn't hit yesterday on the 15.5-point dog Charlotte Hornets that we thought had a great narrative to upset despite being a 15.5-point underdog. And again, if you're new to what we do, we break down the games by the numbers. As I learned a decade ago, not only is the news media rigged, not only are the politics rigged, so are the sports games, and all through the knowledge, the cabal code, which is gematria. And that's not cap, that's not a lie. Again, it's evidence-based. And I've been proving my point for a long time and showing how the same numbers dictate what happens in the sports game is what happens in, say, the rigged selections. Just like how I told everybody Joe Biden would be number 46 a year before it happened, I said why Michigan would be called in Biden's favor and tribute because Michigan's the most 46 state out of all 50 states. And, you know, that 46 did just play for Michigan in the Alabama game. And again, Harbaugh came in with 46 losses. He stayed on it. The game was on 46 date numerology. It was synced up with Tom Brady's 46th birthday, who beat Alabama in overtime 24 years to the day. Alabama hadn't been in the Rose Bowl in California since 1946. And Houston, Texas, where the championship is also 46. So if you're saying, well, how did you lose on Michigan then if you knew all that? Well, again, not everybody in our community did lose because I put down that there was a good narrative for Michigan to beat Alabama. But the thing that was hard to go against is Alabama in 13. It does not miss very often. I mean, you can count on your hand the number of times 13 in Alabama's missed over the last decade. And, you know, you need etch books for days for how many times it hit for them. And what Michigan did avoid in the Rose Bowl was their 13th all-time Rose Bowl loss. And Alabama didn't pick up their 13th win. So, anyway, that's the point of the knowledge, though, to understand patterns, to go with consistent patterns, to win more often than not, to have confidence in a 15.5-point underdog. And like I teach, you know, nothing's worth betting the house on, but with this knowledge, you can hit big parlays and turn $5 bills into $50 bills consistently, $100+ dollar bills. And that's why there are literally, you know, thousands of people who've been riding with me for years who've learned to have fun with the knowledge. You know, I call it make some extra grocery money. Again, I teach people to be smart. If your budget each day for gambling is $5 and your goal each day is to turn 5 into 50, you're not going to do it every single day. But how often do you have to hit on your bet when your method is to bet 5 to win 50? How often do you have to hit those parlays to make sure you're making a profit? Well, simple math. You'd have to hit at least 2 out of 10 bets, which means you can have 8 off days for the 2 days you do hit, and that's not that hard to do with this knowledge. And again, when you can hit on 15.5-point underdogs, that's where it becomes not that hard to stretch a $5 parlay into 50. So let's just, for example, go over what we talked about yesterday. Yesterday, we knew the Bulls 76ers game was, difficult to call in terms of the numbers. 76ers were a 10.5-point favorite on 11-date numerology. As you can see, they did cover the spread, but the 11 and the loss could have fallen on either side. So we did think the Bulls were another potential upset. But like I said, if the Bulls don't upset, one of these two's coming through. Hornets, and the Hornets did seemingly have the better narrative to upset, as we'll get to. But the Bulls upset missed, and not shockingly. We knew 76ers had plenty of narrative to win, as we'll go over. Grizzlies looked good against the Spurs. They took care of business. Pelicans looked good to get over the Nets. We'll go over how we dissect these things. And you got to love just being aware of Gematria. You can just laugh at each day the scores of these games. Tennessee wins with 106 points. Tennessee equals 106. Pelicans beat Brooklyn with 112. Brooklyn equals 112. Anyway, Thunder and Celtics. You look at this game from a number standpoint, like I talked about, it seemed lopsided in the Celtics' favor, but there was one concern for the Celtics coach, a very consistent number in Thunder that could play against him, and sure enough, it did. We talked about that in the Patreon, and that can be the advantage of being in the live stream rather than just reading the notes if you don't know the history of this knowledge. So we're going to go review all of this, but again, Warriors looked solid yesterday. You got to love when the Warriors win with 121, when Warriors equals 121. And then the Hornets, as a 15.5-point underdog, shocked the Kings, but didn't shock us one bit because literally it looked like everything was in their favor to win yesterday's game, and they did prevail. So people make fun of the information, but really it's a system that we use every day, and a lot more often than not, it pays big dividends. So, we weigh the scales. Looking at the scales, it looked like there was, 4 things essentially that could go in the underdog Bulls' favor, but at the same time, there were 3 very consistent things that could also go in the favored 76ers' favor. So that's why, to me, the Bulls, they're worth a small parlay. It's a small risk for a potential big reward. They were a 10.5-point dog. That's a really nice payout if they win. But plenty of things there that could have gone in the 76ers' favor, and they did win, as no surprise is a big favorite at home. And again, what do we look at each day? We look at numerology and gematria. And essentially, gematria is the numerology of words, where numerology corresponds to the numbers and dates. So these are 2 systems that clearly go together, as I've been teaching about for over a decade. And now I say we because there's a community of people who've learned this knowledge and apply it and, do the same thing now. But nobody in the world was doing this before yours truly got here in 2013. So at the same time, nobody has more experience. That said, there are people who are way more dedicated to this now because they love sport and they like watching these games and they know all the players and they're doing this full time with full focus on sports. I mean, admittedly, 25% of my time with this knowledge is spent on sports. My greater focus is trying to wake people up to the evil shenanigans of the world. But again, nobody's showing you the more holistic view of how this knowledge all comes together and where it fits in with the rest of world affairs. So Spurs and Grizzlies. Grizzlies were also another big favorite, but just consistent patterns that could play in their favor. Memphis coach could get his 190th win yesterday, and he did. San Antonio Spurs equals 190. The 11-date numerology was in their favor. The 27-date numerology was in their favor. Nothing to brag about with Memphis as a 10.5-point favorite winning at home. But, the nice thing is when Ja Morant first came back, he came back in a Big 12 ritual. His team was a huge underdog, and they got a nice win in a Big 12 ritual with him hitting the game winner. Just being aware of the numbers. Ja Morant's suspension, how perfectly scripted it was. How perfectly scripted his comeback was. Nice payout in that game. The other day when Detroit ended their losing streak. What do I always call Detroit? The 83 city, because Detroit, Michigan's 83. It's on the 83rd meridian. 83 is the 23rd prime. The word end equals 23. Guess how many days after the coach, Monty Williams, it was 83 days after his birthday, they ended the losing streak against the Raptors. And then they tied the NBA record for 28 consecutive losses. Raptors equals 107, the 28th prime. We had a long laundry list of reasons why it looked like that was the day that Detroit would end the losing streak versus the Raptors. Anyhow, Nets and Pelicans. Pretty lopsided here for the Pelicans. They were a 5.5 point favorite at home, but they got to 11-11 at home in the series on 11-date numerology. The Nets picked up their 11th away loss. Nets coach got his 54th loss, where New Orleans is 54. The New Orleans coach stayed on 104 losses, where Brooklyn's 104. And again, just to make the point, for all the people who are like, four ciphers, I get confused. It's elementary math, you guys. And sports really does show the worth of the four ciphers, because you'll notice how day in and day out how these numbers play into the games, into the box scores, into the stats, into the reads for the game, for the outcomes. So you got the New Orleans coach staying on 104 losses, and you got him picking up the win with 112 points over Brooklyn, right? And you'll see this day in and day out. But yeah, again, look, always weighing the scales. Definitely more in favor of the Nets yesterday than the Pelicans. And then Celtics and Thunder. This is where sometimes you can get in trouble, because it looks like the scales are really lopsided for a team, but there can be numbers that are just so consistent in certain places that you gotta be like, oh man, yeah, there might only be one thing on their side, but it's that number that plays so well with that team. So yesterday, looking at this Celtics game, there was a lot there that looked like could go in the Celtics' favor. But we did see that the Boston coach could stay on 83 wins, and that's a very consistent number in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma's 83. Next thing you know, even though it looked like a lot was going for the Celtics, they lost, and the coach stayed on 83 wins in what you could call another 83 city. It's not as consistent as 83 in Detroit, though, because the one extra 83 Detroit has is it's on the 83rd meridian. So I warned about that game yesterday. I said it looks lopsided, but you got to be careful with that 83 in Oklahoma City. And, Warriors and Magic, scales for this game. Warriors and Magic. As you can see, the weight was on the Warriors' side. And the thing is, here's what sucks about teaching this for all these years. There used to be just the most awesome pattern in the NBA, and it didn't matter if a team was like nearly a 20-point underdog. You could have the most confidence in the world in a team that was near a 20-point underdog in an NBA TV matchup if they had one number going for them. And it's still a winning pattern, but like I explained to people, it probably wins at a ratio of 60% to losing 40% now. But it's the number 14. NBA TV equals 14. And you could see that yesterday the Warriors, by beating the Magic, did stay on 14 home losses, and the Magic picked up their 14th loss of the season. But like I also noted, the Magic coach loses, he'll stay on 75 wins versus the Warriors, who had the big 75 on the court the year that they won the 75th anniversary season, where they beat Boston in Boston, giving Boston their 75th home playoff loss, and the Warriors became 7-5 in finals. But yeah, the Magic coach picked up his 122nd loss. And two big numbers with the Warriors are 122 and 121. Golden State's 122, like San Francisco. And the city's on the 122nd meridian. It's part of the reason the Church of Satan was established there, because you see how Satanic's 122 and 50, just like San Francisco, when the 49ers once upon a time were 5-0 in Super Bowls and hosted Super Bowl 50. But Warriors is 121. These numbers just show up all the time with this team when you're paying attention. And just think about it. The Magic coach comes into town on 121 losses, picks up his 122nd. The 14 hits on NBA TV, which is the historic winner with that network. But again, be warned, it's nowhere near like it used to be. And the other thing is they're always doing geometry rituals with Steph Curry. The Warriors got to 10-8. Curry's birthday's Pi Day, right? Geometry's 108 forwards and backwards. Warriors get to 10-8 with Mr. Pi Day birthday. So again, just recognizing the historic patterns. Warriors, good value against the Magic last night. And they take care of business, as expected. And then the game of the day was right here, Hornets versus Kings. Look how the scales weighed for this game. Not a thing to say about the Kings winning. There was just nothing there for him. Kings coach got his 51st total loss last night and his 47th regular season loss. Charlotte's 51. The date numerology was 47. The 11 date numerology, the Kings stayed on 11 wins. The Hornets stayed on 24 losses versus the Kings here at the start of 24. And would you believe that 24 was the number on New Year's Day of 24? That was the winning pattern in the NBA. And, yeah, the other thing, Charlotte Hornets are the only 2-0-1 team in the league. You know, Jordan lost the Hornets this past year in a 2-0-1 ritual. But January 2nd, just magic day with the 2-0-1 connection. So, yeah, again, 15.5-point underdog. That is the beauty of this knowledge. I mean, how many people do you think that laid down bets on this game yesterday? There's plenty of people in this world who will make a big bet on a huge favorite because they don't mind getting the small win. They think it's Lock City. How are the Kings going to lose at home to the lowly Hornets? This knowledge would have kept all those people from being like, okay, I'm not doing that today. I'm not betting $1,000 to win $100 today, you know? And for all the people that have that method, they lost their $1,000. For everyone in this community, you know, nice payday. $5 bill, $80, $90, $120. So, yeah, again, and that's the reason I have trolls making videos about me every day and lying and slandering. You know, another winning day and, another video from the troll community about how much money we lost. I mean, that's a video that went up New Year's Day. How much money you would have lost if you went with my college picks. Like, really? So 3 picks and 2 won. I don't know in what world is that as a losing day. Last year, we were very confident TCU would beat Michigan in the college playoff as a 10.5-point underdog. Nice payout, $100 paid about $300. Troll has the video up at the end of the day. Oh, look how much money you would have lost. It's just like, I don't know how you would have possibly lost money. I mean, you should have made a lot of money. So, anyway. This knowledge, you guys, it was the knowledge that changed the game. I mean, might not be the most popular YouTube channel thanks to all the censorship and algorithm. As you notice, this channel, Gematria Effect Sports, it doesn't grow at all. It shrinks in subscribership every month, and that's because of the shenanigans of YouTube. But, again, I don't know if there's a more influential YouTuber literally on the platform, because is there anybody else who can say they brought something to the world and now there's hundreds of people that have set up Patreons emulating what they did? Maybe there is. I don't know who that person is outside of yours truly, but again, this is knowledge that pays the bills. It's knowledge that you can have fun with. It's knowledge that you can expand your mind with. It's knowledge that makes you think. I mean, there's just so many benefits to being aware of this. And for all the emotional fans who are all caught up in the games, hey, you want to break out of that. That's more valuable than money. Being caught up in a rigged game that's meant to play with your head. Don't you see how they play with you on TV every day? Did you see the end of the Texas-Washington game and how they created all that unnecessary drama? And then for like a minute and a half, they were going through all the fans and how anxious they looked. You know, the Washington fans, the Texas fans. And I'm asking myself, I'm like, did the Washington player even really get hurt as they stopped the clock on 47 seconds for the team from the 47th parallel? When we're always talking about what is 47 and how many high rituals they perform around that number. You know? So, and I mean, why wasn't the coach just taking a knee anyway? Just take a knee, you run the clock nearly out, no risk of hurting any of your players. Game's pretty much over, kick it away, no time left. Instead, injury, 47 seconds on the clock. Now we got the high drama. During the injury, we're showing all the anxious people. Again, that's the real game of the cabal. They just love playing with everybody's head. They love keeping everybody anxious, in fear, from the sports game to the latest, needless news story that just puts, more, again, fear, hate, division in the world. It's the same cabal controlling it all. So, anyway, we do have a live stream coming up, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern, Monday through Friday. We are going to miss tomorrow. We're skipping tomorrow, but we'll be back on Friday. I don't plan to miss a lot of days. It's just funny, as soon as I start this, something came up that I need to attend to tomorrow. But we'll be making up for it because we'll be streaming on the weekend as well for NFL. And yes, it has not been the best NFL season. And It's not because the methods changed. It's just because the rigging system's not what it used to be. It's not as consistent as it used to be. But hey, NBA's been a thing of beauty. Baseball's been a thing of beauty. And that's not to say you still can't win in the NFL if you're not selective. I mean, there's still strong narratives that are hitting each week. It's just it's hard to go flawless morning after morning in the early games in the NFL. We haven't done that but maybe 3 times this year. And you might remember years past, I'd just be on streaming every NFL morning. Oh, we did it again. Just killed the NFL again. Hasn't been that way this year, but like I said, NBA, MLB, it's been beautiful. So, you just go where the winning narratives are still hitting. And again, when it comes to the NFL, you can still see they're using the code to rig the game. It's just like the way this season's been is, for example, Jaguars in 23 is super consistent, and there'll be a quarterback who can pick up his 23rd loss versus the Jags, but then he doesn't. Instead, his team wins with 23 points, and that's been the kind of season it's been for so many NFL games. Houston in 31, something that we rarely ever lost on historically. The beginning of this year, the first 4-31 Houston rituals that came up, we went 1-3 in those games, and I mean that's just never happened before. So. And that's the thing, too. I mean, you just got to recognize, like, well, for whatever reason, that pattern's not going this year, so you just gotta fade it. And that's also why I teach, you don't bet the house. You just play smart. You play small. You win big. You play small. You lose small. What's up, man? You wanted to call in?
What's up, Zach? How you doing, sir?
Yeah. What's up?
How you been?
Hold on. I got to switch the audio settings so people can hear you. I got to switch the mic when people call in.
Oh, I got you. So you good, or you need me to hold?
Yeah, I switched it. You're good.
Okay. So I just watching you live, and I know you were talking about NFL and how things haven't gone and kind of hit the way, whatever. But one thing I've been looking at with NFL, especially with the playoffs coming up, is these like revenge quarterback matches that they're kind of setting up for the playoffs. Like, for example, Matthew Stafford never got a home game in the playoffs in Detroit, and now looks like he's going to come with the Rams and have to play a home game against Goff in Detroit.
And doesn't that seem like just such a fitting NFL narrative for those two to face each other? It just makes so much sense.
Right. So then you also have the potential matchup coming with the Bills facing Kansas City. And if you remember, Josh Allen lost that game in overtime where they changed the overtime rule where you either can score a touchdown or if you kick a field goal, the other team gets a possession to try and answer. Because remember that game, I forget what game it was, but Josh Allen got screwed or the Bills got screwed in overtime or whatever. So now that game was against Kansas City. So now he has a chance to go back and face Kansas City. So another narrative that I've been looking at with Hurts, right? You had the Eagles jump out to 10-1. Obviously, Philadelphia equals 101. It's a number that's played out with the Eagles several times, especially in Super Bowls. So I looked this up. Every time the Eagles have started 10-1, they made the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but 3 times in their history, out of 90 years, they started 10-1. Once in 1980, they lost against the Raiders. Again, when they won with Carson Wentz was the quarterback, he went down. Nick Foles, they started 10-1 that season, and then they started 10-1 last season, went to the Super Bowl. So now all of a sudden they have this 5-game slide or 4-game slide. So think about this. Jalen Hurts, right, played at Alabama and was replaced on the biggest stage by who? Tua Tagovailoa, right? Tua is Hawaiian. Remember, they burned Hawaii to the ground this year.
And again, the governor of Hawaii has the same birthday as the Super Bowl.
Who does?
The governor of Hawaii, his birthday is February 11th.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
We've been talking about that all season.
Also, right, Mariota is Hurts' backup. He's also from Hawaii. So now there's an opportunity for Hurts to be replaced by another Hawaiian quarterback. And that Hawaiian quarterback has an opportunity to throw a game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl to Devontae Smith, which is who Tua Tagovailoa threw the touchdown to. That's crazy. Or if it's quarterback matchups, then you could have Philadelphia and Miami in the Super Bowl, right? Because Obviously, Tua replaced Jalen, so there's a rivalry there. They played each other earlier this season. So, boom, you could have, and obviously we know that no black quarterback has won outside of a Native American team, so that would lean towards Tua and the Finns, unless Hurts gets replaced by Mariota. But the Eagles starting 10-1 every season and making the Super Bowl, that stands out to me. They've had them go on a slide, so it's kind of like they're trying to pull money away from Philadelphia, right? Trying to get people off of Philadelphia.
I'll just remind people about the long history of 42 in black history, and the Super Bowl is the first ever one on the 42nd day of the year. You just saw the primetime game in Vegas with the first all black officiating crew and replay crew, which was the score was 42-0 at halftime with the black Raiders up, and then they won by 42. So again, I would not lose sight of that narrative.
You think that it might be the first time a black quarterback wins outside of a Native American team since on a 42 numerology?
That's possible. So.
Cool. Well, like I said, just some things that I've been observing, so I just want to give you a little shout, maybe some things that you maybe haven't seen or looked into, but yeah, I'll keep plugging away on it and see what we can come up with.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
All right, yeah, later. House Money Martin says that he thought the OKC over Celtics was an easy call. I'd like to know what he was looking at. I mean, the 83 thing is what stood out for the OKC narrative, but I wonder what else he saw in that game. So he's one of these people who's learned the knowledge and is on it full time. So, but yeah, I don't know what he's talking about with how, I mean, you had to go against a lot of historic winning patterns or just fade all those to be super confident in OKC. So the winning pattern for the league, that's the thing too. You learn that there's winning patterns that if you just take if you took all of the winning pattern for the day, you're not going to win in every single game, but you'll win in the vast majority, and you have to highlight where it could, not work out in some games. So there might be 10 games on the slate that have the pattern. It might hit in 7. It might only hit in 6 if it's not the greatest day, but it's more than likely going to hit in the vast majority of games. The ones it doesn't hit in, of course, there's a reason for it, and you got to identify those games. But you ride the winning pattern for the day, which can be identified through the numbers, you're going to come out ahead a lot more often than not. So, but yeah, if you're going to write things in the chat like, oh, that was an easy call, I mean, explain how. Don't just say it was an easy call with no explanation. We call that capping. Okay, anyway, we'll leave it there. Live stream starts in about 30 minutes if you want to join us on Patreon. Again, it's $5 per month for all written content. The way Patreon's set up is if you subscribe today for the first time, your renewal date would be on the 3rd of each month. It's $11 a month for all written content plus all live streams. And again, regular live streams Monday through Friday. There'll be some days where we have to miss a day like tomorrow. But through the NFL season, we'll also be streaming on the weekend. So you'll get nearly 7 days of coverage through the remainder of the NFL season. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's possible that 824 in the state of California, Charlotte, who drafted Kobe. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I didn't think about that, but that is one more reason for the upset. And they were a 15.5-point dog. Kobe does equal 15. They did stay on 13 losses. Kobe, the 13th pick of the 96 draft by Charlotte. Oh, wait a minute. Vlade Divac, he played for both teams too, man. Yeah, sometimes the riddle's deeper than you know. I wonder if there was a Vlade Divac tribute in there. Hold up, man. Oh, man. That's the thing, that all these sports leagues love to pay tribute to the history of the leagues in the daily rigged games. And you'll only catch it if you're paying attention and really thinking about it. Yesterday was 333 days after Vlade's birthday, huh? Interesting. Yeah. Vladi for Kobe, one of the worst trades in NBA history. But again, it's all just a scripted joke. Kobe had to come through the Carolinas like Jordan. Remember, he made his debut, Kobe, on November 3rd, 96. 113, like Kobe Bryant's 113, like Michael Jordan's 113, like the National Basketball Association's 113. So. So are you saying that about? Are you saying that for the Hornets Kings game? Or are you saying that for how you said Boston OKC was an easy call? I see you didn't follow up with that. That's where I think I was hearing nothing but cat. Yeah, there's been a lot of tributes to Kobe, of course, since his passing, and again, Kobe's a huge part of the league's history and recent history. And remember, they're putting up the statue this year on February 8th, 2024, 3 days before the Super Bowl, when he died the Sunday before the Super Bowl. And that date will have 54 date numerology, like Kobe Bean Bryant's 54. And he died right before Super Bowl 54, and Super Bowl 58 is the 54th of the modern era. So no doubt, it's all part of the coming ritual in the big game. Yeah, that is a warning about my Patreon too. I do have trolls that live on my Patreon. Do not argue with them. Just ignore them. Read the notes. Join the live stream. And again, why do I have so many trolls on my Patreon? Because there's people that just hate what I do. I am the source. They're just trying to bring down the source, the person who brought this to the world. So, um, yeah, in light of it being 2024, though, there probably will be a lot of Kobe. A lot of Kobe. It's 4 years after the death anniversary, and it's 24. Yeah, they said that's why they're putting up this statue, because Gianna wore 2 and Kobe wore number 8. That's exactly what they said. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there for now, you guys. See you on the Patreon for all those who do subscribe and support the work. And thank you to all of you. And we'll continue in about 30 minutes. Until next time.